There you go.
Thank you very much, G. So yes, hello everyone again. This is Affiliates and Partnerships Week, isn't it? So we've got the lovely Joe Perota from Marmalade Marketing joining us today. So hello, Joe. Thank you for joining us. I know you've been on a couple of times with previous cohorts. This is our 13th cohort, which is just crazy. And I think it's our last one of the year, isn't it? Our last guest speaker slot of the year. So a very, very special one. So I hope you're well. Thank you for joining us. Would you like to sort of introduce yourself? I've already given everyone a bit of a brief as to who you are and what you do, but it would be lovely for you to sort of tell everyone who it is and what it is that you currently do at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. And to my very good friend, Meg Kerr, who is on here. Hey, Meggie. So a little bit about myself. Joe Perotta, founder and MD of Marmalade Marketing. We are 8 years old as an agency, and we specialize in the recruitment sector. Recruitment and also either technology or other companies that support that sector. So you may have heard of Reed, Manpower, Adecco, Hayes, Rulian, all of those recruitment businesses. We would either help to assist their internal marketing teams or they would outsource to Marmalade. I've been a marketer for almost 25 years for my sins. So I've been through the full 360 of pre-digital and digital, and then the onset of AI and how that's impacting marketing. So been there, seen it, done it.
Amazing. Thank you, Joe. Could you talk us through a little bit about your sort of journey? So from how you first got into marketing, and a brief as to sort of, pinnacle points as to how you've gotten to where you are now. Essentially kind of like, how have you ended up in this position, basically?
For my sins in a previous life, I think, in short. But I always had an appetite for marketing, and I studied business studies at A level and with a stream of marketing, decided that's what I wanted to do. So I did a degree at Salford Uni in marketing, and then did a professional qualification in marketing. And I thought, you know what, I just need to do as many qualifications, digital marketing certificates, and because what I realized was that in marketing, it's this industry, what we do is built on quicksand. So at no point will it ever stop moving. At no point now, and especially over the last, quarter of a century, that's a bloody long time. It just will not. Yesterday is not the same as today, and today is not the same as tomorrow. So once I got my head around that, I decided that absolutely that's what I want to do as a career. Very early on, I did the marketing for a student agency for a couple of years in London, which I loved, but hated my boss. That's a strong word, but I really did. And I just wanted to get him out on pitches all the time. So I became very good at getting my boss out the office. And I thought, well, that's a part of marketing communications. So that interested me. Then I did the marketing and written comms for the Big Issue movement. So went from an agency to the Big Issue movement. So not-for-profit, charitable organization, as we know, the vendors selling magazines. And then I joined a recruitment business as their internal marketing person, because recruitment marketing 20 years ago was very new, and founded that team.
Me and Joe, actually, we kind of like were ships in the night, weren't we? Because we were working in the same business, but I think you'd left as I started or around that.
That's
Uh,
right. Yeah.
yeah. I think there's quite a few people from Marmalade are from that business, actually, aren't they?
Yeah, stick with your good people. When in your career, you'll cross paths with people that you think, I really enjoyed your company, because it's not only the day job, it's that absolute camaraderie and support that you get from your colleagues. And I already knew if I ever had my own agency, of which that was always the plan, but happened a bit earlier than I thought. I was on maternity leave, and this was 8 years ago or 9 years ago. And I could either just do loads of crying, which kind of did anyway, because I had a son who was less than 1, and a daughter who was 3.5. And I was a single mum at the time, and thought I either really cry every night and, feel sorry for myself or try and do it on my own. And that's what I did.
Wow, that's incredible. Incredible story. Thank you for sharing that, Jo. I'm going to ask you one more question, then I'll open it up for base campers to ask their questions. So could you, I mean, you've touched on it there, you know, kind of like that struggle and an obstacle there where you could have gone one route, but you didn't, you persevered and you kept motivated. So what have been some sort of like struggles or like points you've had to really overcome and push yourself through to get to where you are now?
Every day. So that the challenge is the way. And I heard, I went to this event recently and there was an amazing lady who said, hard work can't be walked around, you walk through it. So once you get your head around, actually, you know, if you want to succeed, I understand work-life balance. I get that. But doing what I do, there was no work-life balance. I thought I'd be able to do drop-off and pick up and all of that stuff. It's only in the last year that I allow myself to pick the kids up on a Friday. And the parent guilt is real because, you know, my children have sacrificed because I have been away from home and working long hours, as you know, we all do. We all make those sacrifices. But as long as you have a plan and you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing, so have a really clear why. If you want to become an expert in a certain field, for me, in my personal experience, and I can only talk from personal experience, it was never an easy drop the mic at 5 o'clock. You know, it was always, you're always switched on.
Yeah, you had to have some like tenacity, don't you, really, to kind of be able to get to the level that you're at, and to have been in marketing for as long as you have as well. It shows that, because it is a tough industry, like you say, it's constantly changing. Every day is different. You've got to be tenacious and you know, in the learning, you know, if anything. So does anyone have any questions? Feel free to put your hand up or shout out, put your hand up or in the chat, however you want to do it. Go for it. Ask your questions now.
Nothing's off limits.
Like that. Meg, go for it.
Hi, Jo.
Hey, girl.
Now you've said nothing's off limit, this is going to seem a very boring question, but so with Marmalade Marketing, how do you think you stand out? You know, how, because it's such a busy environment to be in. What are your how do you make everybody see you guys?
So I think it's a really great question because you have, as an entrepreneur, you have incredible naivety and bring that on. As far as I'm concerned, you know, somebody spoke to me recently that they had imposter syndrome. I'm like, what is that? That is a nonsense. That's just media telling us that we need to stick in our lanes and in our boxes. And I think continuous learning and being lifelong learners is absolutely critical to success. And I didn't, you know, even 8 years ago when I started the business, I didn't really have any major competitors, maybe just one, but they weren't from a marketing background and they hadn't worked in-house. I founded that in-house marketing function at a company called Meridian Business Support. They were an international recruitment business. And I was there for a decade. And it was really hard work to try and earn a place at the table for my opinion to be heard and counted. I remember being put on speaker and the chief exec at the time was chatting to a sales director. What do you think of Jo McNamara at the time? What do you think of Jo McNamara and what she's doing? Oh, what, the weather girl? I was like, hang on a minute. So we battle all of these perceptions of what marketing is, the colouring in department, all of that nonsense. Now it is so much easier to be transparent about the impact of marketing because of data and different technological platforms that we can dip into. The absolute silver bullet for marketers or for anyone in a digital space is what's the return on investment. speak to people who've been in marketing for 40 years and they still don't know. They still can't answer that question because the fact is we don't know, but we can make some assumptions based on data that gives an idea of different pathways of revenue, for example, or intent signals from different audiences you're communicating with. So what sets you apart is knowing your stuff, not being intimidated to hustle and to learn as you go along. I say it's like building a house one day at a time. You're living in it. It's scrappy, dirty, a bit frightening at times, a bit lonely, spooky, but just start to enjoy that habitat, start to enjoy being uncomfortable, because there you will thrive. It's not meant to be super easy and cushy to begin with.
Great.
Long-winded, sorry.
No, that was good. Thanks, Jo.
Welcome.
Tanya, you've asked a question in the chat. Hi, Joe. Now you're gonna have to help me with this a bit, Tanya. I'm not sure about the wording. Is the recruitment for folks in the digital marketing space? Do you mean, is there recruitment for folks in the digital marketing space? Can you just elaborate on that question a little bit?
Oh, just more. Hi, Joe. Joe. More about what type of recruitment do you do, Joe?
So we do the marketing for recruitment businesses. So if you imagine there's two types of recruitment, and great question, because I overcomplicate things sometimes. So there's two audiences for a recruitment business: temporary workers and permanent workers. And they can be in any sector, from pharmaceutical, engineering, healthcare, education, whatever it may be. And we support those companies to get their message out to those temporary or permanent workers, to try and attract them into work on assignment on behalf of that recruitment business. So we don't do recruitment, we help recruitment businesses to amplify their brand, to grow the brand and awareness.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is a really good question. I know you've got your hand up, Alison, but I'm going to hijack just for a second. Can I kind of just expand on that, Joe? Can I ask, because you work with, because like you say, recruitment's so broad, have you ever come across like a recruitment company that you've been a bit sort of like in the dark with, like in terms of their audience and what it is that they do, that sort of industry that they're recruiting into? Do you ever kind of say no to a client because you're not sure how you would market it, or do you say yes and kind of learn as you go? Like, what's kind of your process when saying yes to a client, essentially?
Yeah, always say yes and figure it out afterwards. There's always a way. You know, my team says, "What have you sold now?" And I'll send it. They're like, "We need to," you know, there's always a baseline delivery model, always, because we've done it for so long. And it's like going in a clothes shop and it's full of tops. And the client says, "We need to have people buy more stuff." And you say, "Well, you've only got tops. You need to supply bottoms and trainers and socks and underwear." Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So there's always the baseline of how to fill that store, if you like. But then every single client is in very different, even though they could be in the same market, it could be different geographical location. One could be temp, one could be perm, that kind of thing. So it's very specific for each, but we know what we're supplying them with, t-shirts or bottoms.
Love that. Say yes and figure it out later. That is the motto I'm going to take away from that. So go for it. You got your hand up.
Is it me? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Basically, I just wanted to ask about the big issue, because obviously it came out, I think it was in the 90s, wasn't it? And then there was some success, and then there was a lot of bad press around it about people being too pushy and bullied into bag magazines. Then they rebranded themselves, and then they became almost something students bought. And then I was just wondering kind of what's happened now, because is it just printed magazines have kind of gone out of favor and they're not being bought like they used to, or is it, and what point were you working for them?
So I was around, so early 2000s. So Anne McNamara and Ruth Turner founded The Big Issue in the North. And the big issue, I'm not sure if you're aware, they have 5 separate legal entities, 5 magazines nationally from Wales, Scotland, and then in England, and 3 charities. So it was very fractured. So it was a really tough gig for the big issue to get economies of scale. They'd share the same printing house for the magazine, but very difficult to try and gain momentum. So I worked with them as kind of written comms and direct marketing. I had a page in the magazine. I was given a budget per year, and I had to quadruple that as revenue, not unrestricted revenue, we called it. So it wasn't a government grant to keep the lights on and pay the rate and rents and whatever. It was to do the funding to do the good stuff with the vendors. And so there's a place still for the printed magazine, in my view. We're talking 23 years ago when I worked there, but I'm actually still in touch with Ruth Turner. And because now I've kind of gone 360. So I started in the not-for-profit sector, and now I support an organization called Bounce Back Food. They're a food poverty charity or not-for-profit organization, and we do pro bono free marketing for them. So I bring in my big issue days and my marketing commercial head on, and we do free marketing. And we also do a food drop every Friday to a crisis center for them. So in answer to your question, Alison, it's both. There's a place actually for printed collateral now, because people are bombarded with email marketing and digital, the attention economy online. People are getting lost and the messages are unclear. And so we now, on behalf of our clients, and we're doing it ourselves, where it's called Dry Your Eyes, Mate, a very northern campaign for any prospect who didn't choose to work with us. We're sending a pack of tissues through the post with a cheer up, don't cry yourself to sleep kind of thing, as a printed kind of, tactical media campaign to see how that fares compared to the email sequences that we do, because it's getting harder to get into inboxes for every business.
Yes, it is. It really is. I like that idea. Pauline, you've got your hand up.
Yes, hello. As somebody that spent a lot of time on LinkedIn in the last year, and been in the job market generally, I would say the recruitment industry is having a bit of a reputational crisis of its own. And I was just wondering how you as a marketeer supporting that industry is going about handling that.
Absolutely great question, Pauline, because this is almost the perception of recruiters are like the car salespeople, which all of this is very, old school, but they would think it's, the kind of dodgy dealings or the cowboys and girls, if you like. The massive challenge for a recruitment business is because the delivery models have changed. So back in the day, 24 years ago, recruitment businesses would have resources, and that resource would go out on, before that, pre-LinkedIn, there'd just be going on different types of, or adverts in newspapers, for example, bonkers, if you think about that, yellow pages, that kind of thing. And the challenge then was reaching that specific audience, but at least you have the channels that made it a little bit easier: radio, TV, all above the line stuff. Then with the onset of websites, recruitment websites, and the likes of LinkedIn, everything was amplified. So you're talking 1,000% in terms of distribution, how far and wide those job ads would go, for example. So the knock-on effect of that is the number of applicants that are not relevant for roles. And even though the recruitment industry, I love it because it's so invested in technology, but they are magpies when it comes to technology. Anything shiny and new, they invest, swoop in. Hardly, a big deal, business case to be made, they'll invest. Then it's, oh, poop, we need to actually make this thing work. But I think there is a period of change. You're right. It's going through this crisis of who it is and what it stands for, and actually respecting their audiences. Yeah. And AI will massively help with that. but it will also present challenges because the application rate, again, are severely amplified in skewing results and the ability for a one-to-one personalized experience. So in short, that's a very long answer, but we're sussing it out through technology.
Oh, I hope to see it change because it's pretty awful.
I bet. I'll pick up with you offline just to get your personal feedback, if that's okay. Really
Yeah, I mean, even just not, my personal experience hasn't been too bad, but my feed is full of people talking about how awful the talent experience is. You know, and that's whether it's in-house teams dealing with candidates or it's recruitment agencies or recruitment firms like you work with. And I suppose as a candidate, I don't care how I get the job that I nail in the end, you know, and I'm certainly not prioritizing, not thinking about that's the best recruitment agency to go to or that's the best recruitment engine. It's just whichever way, and quite often I may get served up, you know, an ad from a particular recruitment company, but if I can go direct to the company that's hiring, I do every single time. I just cut out the middleman.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I have some questions for you, Joe. So with it being affiliates and partnerships week, I'd love to sort of know how involved you've been in sort of affiliate marketing in the past. What's kind of been your experience with that, your thoughts on it, and maybe any advice that you can provide for people who are interested in that area of marketing?
I think affiliate marketing, again, it's changing such a lot. And because you're able to digitize affiliate marketing now, it's easier, I guess, to show revenue splits and how you're going to amplify certain campaigns. We work with lots of companies who affiliate marketing doesn't work because of the markets that they're operating in. But particularly with partnerships, I always have a motto, which is favors, not fivers. And in partnerships and collaborations, I think any kind of service industry that you may ever work in, I always link it back, rightly or wrongly, to e-commerce, because there's always the shop window and that's the website. There's always different routes to your audiences, and there should be different revenue streams bringing money into the business. And partnerships is a massive way of doing that. So it might be, for example, with Marmalade Marketing, we have official partnerships with about 10 different companies that are all operating in this space. But the way we do that, again, it's favors, not fivers. We will create campaigns that are collaborations. We may see other campaigns or assets, so a high value piece of work that we think actually there's a partner that would add value to that. And we're always, you know, I'm a businesswoman, so I'm always thinking, how far and wide, how far is their reach? How many other opportunities to have a conversation about what we do can we have? So partnerships is vital, especially in this volatile market, because it is very tough out there.
Yeah, that's great advice, sort of favors and not fivers. I think the majority of the partnerships that we've had through Basecamp have been very, like, there's no finances involved. It's literally, you know, we kind of scratch each other's back in some way or another. And a lot of it sort of come through that warm approach. So I really resonate with that, actually. That's really good advice. Thank you. So can you talk us through some of the highlights in your career? Like, what have been some really just amazing moments for you? Obviously, you know, you've set up an incredible business, you know, you've had so much success. What have been some real, like, oh my gosh, moments for you?
I'd say because of this learning appetite that I have, because if I didn't, no one would take me seriously, because I'd be talking about marketing from 20 years ago, even though I do still talk about direct mail and things. But I think it's really important to carry on challenging yourself. And so I got sponsored to do, it's called the Goldman Sachs 10 KSB, and it's part of the Goldman Sachs Philanthropy Fund, so their charity fund, if you like, feel sorry for businesses like me. 4 years ago, you had to have reached a certain turnover, employed a certain amount of people, reached all these benchmarks, and then you got interviewed to go on a learning pathway with them, which has been the last couple of years with them, really. But I was really proud to get on that. And I was interviewed in the 11th hour, rushed because I was in, meetings before, felt like the bolshy northerner, was a little bit dismissive, but didn't realize how powerful that would be. And since then, I've got invited to lots of different events. I'm passionate about AI. That encouraged me to do a certificate in AI with Oxford University. And then 2 weeks ago, I got invited to 10 Downing Street to talk about AI in small business, which was phenomenal. And I felt like, no imposter. I've felt like I've earned my stripes for 25 years to sit here, Mr. Graham Thomas, and Minister of Business. Thank you very much. So yeah, that was a mega highlight.
That is such a highlight. Congratulations to you. I saw that actually on your LinkedIn that you'd done that. That is incredible. Well done. Yeah, and then I love that, your sort of take on imposter syndrome there. It's like, no, you've earned that. Because imposter syndrome, some people might have that, that could have come to them and been like, oh no, I can't do it, I'm too nervous. But actually just sort of, pushing yourself, putting yourself in the room and saying yes to things. And like you say yes and think later. It's such a great sort of like way to live by in general. Because then you just open to so many new opportunities and like moments where you're a bit nervous about something. Actually, it's great growth.
And you're bound to be nervous. 2 weeks before, I attended a 12-hour hackathon, which I thought, what the hell? But I did it. I got stitched up and presented on stage in this massive auditorium. Again, there was a government senior advisor to the Prime Minister there and 7 mega advisors. And I thought, I can either stand here and absolutely crap myself or embrace it. And I just, when people say that thing about imagine people are naked in the audience, well, that really embarrasses me. So there's no way I could do that. So I'm thinking, how do I get myself down a few notches? Because my heart's pounding out of my chest. And I thought, my kids, 11 and 8, I thought, just imagine them in the front row laughing their heads off at how ridiculous I was up there. In a funny way. And that completely chilled me out. So I'm not immune from this, but I'm up for the challenge. And it's almost like I've trained my brain to be up for the challenge and the fight.
That's great. And I guess people can take that into any sort of scenario, whether you're going in for an interview, for a job that you really want, or, you pitch in a proposal to a client. Like if you take that sort of mindset into those scenarios and maybe find your almost like your coping mechanism, whether it is that you see the room naked.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to think about what my
It's crazy.
Amy, you've got your hand up. Go for it.
Hiya, I do. Oh, fantastic talk so far. Thank you. It's been really, really inspiring. I've got 2 questions, if that's okay. So my first one, in regards to you talking about AI then, how much do you use AI in your day-to-day job? And are there any specific areas that if you were new to marketing like me that you'd look into upskilling in regards to AI? And then my second question is, how do you and Meg know each other?
Aww. Meg and I are like school moms. We're like the school moms passing in the playground. And Meg has also done some amazing photography for me over the years for my clients and Marmalade, because there's no one better than Meg that does photography. This girl is a weapon. So so AI, I would say in my limited experience, I guess I've read a lot more than some of my counterparts. There is no easy approach because it's still very unknown. So AI is 70 years old from Alan Turing. He was the architect of what this is. So we all think it's new, and we've been living and breathing it for 70 years without knowing it. It was the onset of ChatGPT that made people understand we've got a product, and so that's AI, and how do we use it? I would say proceed with caution. authenticity is absolutely the key. As marketers, find your clients or your own story and use your unique voice to tell that story. AI should be used, in my view, for ideation, that idea generation, how to become more creative in terms of how you know, the key messaging, for example. It's really clever for doing that. Just, I see it all the time, AI generated content, and it's boring and it's overly academic, and it's been trained on learning systems that are biased, and you can see that. And a lot of the AI tools will evolve, and they'll be, you know, get a lot smarter. But if there's an over reliance on AI, I think that's where you lose your power. In my view. And as long as you get your guardrails, as long as you know this is what I'm comfortable with. So I'm absolutely super comfortable. We've all done Coursera, the prompt engineering courses. So that's a really good tool. Also, I've just finished, it's not been designed yet, but I'm really happy to share it to Basecamp, and they can share it with you all. An 25 AI mega trends for 2025, different tools, reasons why people are using it. You know, it'll be defunct. That asset will be dead within 2 months, but it's still worth kind of putting out there. So proceed with caution and have a play with it, but don't over rely on it.
Amazing, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, that would be great, Jo, if you don't mind sharing that with us, and we can pass it on to the base campers. Thank you very much. I have a question about sort of the growing pains that you might have felt when starting the business. So obviously you've got a team behind you now. How has that been for you, sort of been in a position where you're in charge of growing a team, going through those growing pains? Like, how's that process been like for you? Because there'll be a lot of base campers who have their own businesses, or that are freelance or considering it. And it's something that we rarely talk about, really, is that, okay, well, maybe you get to a year or 2 years down the line and your business is going really well and you need to start to grow. What does that really look like?
Wine, joking. Yeah, lots of wine, red. No, I think it's horrific. It's been really, really tough. You know, 4 years in, then we had the pandemic, and then we had hyper growth, which was phenomenal. Everyone was flying, then it fell off a cliff. Trying to stabilize a business through those economic challenges is near impossible, but you have to get excited by the challenge. And I've got to grips with the fact that the challenge, and there's a book about this actually, the challenge is the way. And the good wind will come back, because business is like a pendulum. It'll start to feel, oh, there's not much going on this side, but then it starts to swing back. So be ready for the swing either way. Stay in a neutral position. You know, don't have an over reliance on, I need to get to X clients to make it viable. I've grown a team. We're 12 of us now, all experienced. Well, half the team recruitment marketing specialists. And we have a very senior team here with over 100 years senior marketing experience in the recruitment sector between us. But apart from that strategic consultancy team, I've never hired on the fact that I want people to have a marketing degree. I've never hired on the fact that I want people to have gone to university or college or whatever. It's all about culture contribution for me. It's all about another colleague asking another colleague, how can I help? What do you need? Ask me 100 times a day. You know, I've just done, I'm doing a post. We use a tool called Slack, and that takes us off emails. So the team keep me off as much as they can, because I create a headache for them if I get involved in stuff. So they keep me out of it. But I'll just, if it's okay, read a couple of these points that, or the words, the key words we use to each other as a team. So year to date, we've used, we have 7,000 morning. We have 2,000 love. We have 12,000 times we've said thanks. 806 LUV, love. 867 times laugh. 6,000 thank yous. 2,000 helps. 1,000 sorry. 226 breakfast, of which it's one of our values. 202 coffee, 2,000 team, and 682 times we've said the word amazing. So I think it's about that. It's about people giving a shit about each other and wanting to survive as a team. And I've always said, if this business goes down, we'll be like the Titanic. We're all in ball gowns. We're all playing a beautiful music and instrument, drinking champagne. That's the vibe we have here. So everyone's feeling the pain. Just try and find a way through it and try and be at peace with it. It will get better.
That was kind of my next question, really, was about sort of, because the culture at Marmalade is so apparent. I mean, even just because, for context, Joe does host like breakfast mornings, don't you? And breakfast is it every week that you have like a breakfast on a Friday with the team? Which is so important. So for you, when you're looking to hire a new member of the team, because you were saying there about how, you know, some of the credentials might, you know, the degrees and things like that, it's not something you look for. But when you initially look at someone's application, what is something that you really, you know, how can you potentially be seeing someone's contribution to the culture through their application?
I think even if the paid for work experience isn't there, it's the contribution in other ways. So it could be gifting time to not-for-profit organizations or a charitable organization, or even some kind of interest that you've got. So for example, Nina, who is now one of our junior account managers, she came here 3.5 years ago now, as social media writer, no experience whatsoever in social media, no experience in digital, but she had her own Instagram and had created a kind of a brand for herself online. And I just loved her sass and thought, bring it to Marmalade. You know, come and show us what you can do. And then she quickly moved into a broader role into tech. And then found she's better at the architecture and writing. So then she's been brought into the account management team now. So, and that all came from her showing what she was made of, even though she wasn't being paid for it.
So it's almost like the application is just kind of like the foot in the door, but actually what then employees are taking the time to look at is those extra bits and bobs sort of surrounding that that initial CV. So they're going to want to look at things like your LinkedIn or your social media, if you've, you know, everything that you do beyond. And like you say, it doesn't have to be paid experience, whether you do volunteer work or you've been on projects, because I think often or not people tend to, you know, not put that on their CV if they've helped, say, a friend doing their social media or stuff like that. It's something that people don't think to put on their CV. But I guess, you know, those kind of like where you've done something because you've really wanted to help, or you've supported someone and you've done it off of your own back. It's that, yes, you've got some physical experience there, but actually for you, I can see you're a helpful person, that you're willing to go out your way to support someone, and that's really important. And, you know, particularly with a business that has got less than 50 employees, that's really, I think that's quite rare actually, because a lot of people, when they're hiring, if they're under 50 employees, tend to try and just get as much experience out of someone as possible. So I really like your approach when you're looking for someone. And Joe has actually hired from Basecamp before, so obviously.
Yeah, Ramsha and Pippa, yeah.
No, so yeah, obviously, you know, we've had Careers Week, so we've spoken a lot about what everyone can be doing sort of beyond their CV and extra bits and bobs. So this is a great sort of reiteration of that. I'm going to open up for more questions from you guys. So if anyone has a hand they'd like to raise or anything they'd like to put in the group chat. Amy's just said that she's found her favourite part of the Marmalade website, and it's the the dog
team. Oh, I know. Are they amazing? Oh, look at Maggie. Maggie's an absolute nut job. She tries to jump out of the first floor window, so we don't let her in very often. Max is stinky. Oh my God, he's just so stinky. And Derek he looks quite small there, but he's the size of a donkey. He's absolutely huge. So when he's in, he rules.
Do they ever come in all three together?
We've had that, and we have some issues with that. So, but they're on a rota. Yeah,
I think we have that at Basecamp. We have like we have to let people know because everyone's got dogs that they like to bring in, so they're on a bit of a schedule, like a doggy schedule. I love that.
Oh, and they even get Secret Santa. They're so cute. They're really lovely, and none of them are my dogs, so I get work dog time.
Oh, lovely. Oh, I did have a really good question for you then, actually. Oh, what's kind of like your, you know, carrying on the conversation about culture in the office, like, do you allow for like hybrid working? Would you be open to remote workers? Like, what's your kind of take on that flexibility in Marmalade?
Fully remote, no. Only because what the magic that happens in marketing is when you're hearing, and also my responsibility to impart knowledge and train marketers who come into the business or anyone who comes in. So a bit of a hybrid model works perfectly. So I only work from home on a Wednesday. I would be in every single day of the week, but they kick me out on a Wednesday and say, you're not welcome, you need to stay away. And I say, no offense taken, absolutely fine. They'd like me to work remotely full time, so I stay off their backs about things because, you know, we work very hard over here. So yeah, a hybrid model works perfectly. If it's fully remote, I would struggle with that just because I feel much more value comes from being a part of a physical team environment.
I agree. If, you know, where you can, if you can be on site or hybrid, it's a great place for you to connect with your team, to learn. It's a nice dynamic, but totally understand that people might be needing more of a remote opportunity. And there definitely are about, but I agree with Joe that if you can do hybrid or on site, that would be the best. Catherine's asked a really good question in the chat. Do you ever need freelance account managers to cover busy or holiday periods? And if not, do you know of any agencies who do?
Oh, yes, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. Anyone who wants to have a chat afterwards or send me your CV, really happy to have a look at. You know, the idea, our pipeline is amazing and it can drop overnight where we're in a holy crap situation where we need to hire. So yeah, anyone who is interested, let's keep the conversation open because you know, I say lots of prayers to my grandma McNamara, please let this all drop. And then we have champagne problems, we call it. So yeah, definitely reach out.
Amazing. I've just shared your LinkedIn in the group chat there, and I'll pop it in the Slack channel as well for everyone. That's really kind. Thank you for sort of, you know, offering some extra help there. Catherine's just said, great, I will do. You need to leave early. No worries, Catherine. Thank you for joining today. Any more questions for Joe? Pop your hand up. I'll give you 10 more seconds.
Got off lightly.
Cool. Well, I've got a question for you. What is your, obviously we're at the end of the year now, so for 2025, what do you see happening at Marmalade Marketing, and what do you see happening for you as an individual in your sort of like professional career?
Loads at Marmalade. I'm up to all sorts, honestly. I'm so fatigued. I feel my brain is frazzling, but I just need to get to Christmas Eve. Lots of new services, lots of brilliant conversations. Also taking the conversation up a level because the team here, I brought in a very senior chief marketing officer. And so he does a lot of the role that I used to do in terms of client retention, key account management, strategy, bit of BD, business development with me. I love doing the sales stuff and I love doing the client liaison. So I'll be doing more of that, but having conversations more with private equity companies who are buying recruitment businesses. That's my strategy. And we've got a couple of really nice conversations going on, which is really hard work and about 3 years in the making. And then personally for me, to be more involved with the Goldman Sachs growth manifesto that we did in February this year. That's what culminated in the meeting at 10 Downing Street. It might be that we go back in spring, but we've definitely got another meeting in February. So just to get more involved in using my voice on behalf of I'm a micro business, you know, it's brilliant to have an opportunity to use our voices and just do more about AI and on other little projects, AI driven, that would help Marmalade and our clients.
That sounds like a very exciting year. Gareth, you've got your hand up.
Go on, go on. It's kind of circling back to AI really, because you were mentioning that your clients kind of jump on board with new technology without a plan, but like at the same time, AI is moving at like such light speed. Like I'm on a mailing list and it's just like, whoa, every lunchtime I read it and I'm like, what is going on? So I guess my question is, like you outlined some use cases about how you use it in marketing, but like what is your more like holistic approach to like using AI? Have you got any use cases in like automation, operations, that kind of thing, where you're kind of trying it, fastest way to fail? I mean, kind of what's your approach really?
Yeah, I would say in answer to the question, there's both in every single technology platform now, whether it's social media through to email marketing, through to customer relations management tools, CRMs, there is inbuilt AI being augmenting that human experience. And so I call it active and passive consumption of AI. Actively, I'm going out, I'm putting a prompt in ChatGPT, and so I'm owning that experience, I'm leading, I'm controlling that as much as I'm aware. But then there's the passive adoption of AI, what's happening in and around the tools we already use. And so it's almost like, this is a weird analogy, but that from farm to fork campaign that the government did a few years ago about tracking the ethical use and treatment of animals, how, if you think of it from an AI perspective, any of the AI tools that we are consuming, has that been ethically developed on neutral data, not gender biased data? Is that data IP protected? Is it plagiarism, or was it bought and paid for rightly? So, you know, loads of cases going on in the US and the UK around plagiarism and large language models being trained on stolen information, which is terrible. Also, lots of people testing AI, for example, in the NHS, pumping chat and other LLMs, these large language models, with confidential information. It's madness. So that's why I say proceed with caution, but we will get to a point where you have to put the guardrails up. You know, you're not going to fall off this way, you're not going to fall off that way, and you understand what you're using and how it's being created.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Question.
That was really interesting. I was so sorry. I was so sucked into that. Then I forgot I was leading the. I was like, amazing. Well, thank you, Jo. I'm all out of questions, unless anyone else has any last questions they want to ask Jo while she's got her. Say now or forever hold your peace. Oh, Amy, go for it.
Sorry, asking another one. We were talking a minute ago about obviously you prefer hybrid working options. So my working situation at the moment is I'm currently traveling. I've just done a band conversion, so I'm going to be looking for like a fully remote job, hopefully part-time, either with like either an environmental or creative organization. I was just wondering if you've got any pointers of, because I know remote jobs are a little bit like gold dust at the moment. Any tips on how to go about securing one?
How do you have?
Yeah, I think I was speaking to someone yesterday, and this person is hoping, it's a UK tech business, and she's hoping to go and work remotely next year in Portugal, for example, because apparently you don't pay tax in Portugal. Amazing. Even if you're employed by a UK company. I'm like, why am I here, not in Portugal? So yeah, there's definitely, on occasion, it's almost like building that case to show the employer nothing changes, you know, especially if they are investing in a workforce that is in the UK and can have meetings or whatever, you know, they're remote, but they can still get to London or Birmingham or Scotland or wherever. It's no different for a company like that. So I would challenge a company that says you need to be in the office once a month. Well, really, do I? And then for companies who haven't considered it before, you might have exactly the skill set they need. So you have to sell it into them, because it may be that they're still quite outdated with the way they are organizing their workforce and planning. Sell
Amazing. Thank you.
it.
Oh, I tell a lie, I've got one more question actually. I've just thought of one. Joe, your sort of networking events that Marmalade host, have you got any plans for more events to come? Obviously, you know, we'd love to come along if you don't mind.
Thank you. We've got a few on the radar, definitely online events. We've got a nice event with NatWest down in London, which is lovely. One with LinkedIn, so I'll let you know about that. And yeah, we tend to do our events either for recruitment business leaders or owners, but they're marketers. So recruitment marketers, that could be spread into this community, because a lot of it is transferable to general marketers anyway. And it might be that you can start to learn some of the acronyms. It's ridiculous the amount of acronyms we use in the recruitment industry, but yeah, that might be of value.
Definitely, yes. If you don't mind, sort of let me know when you've got some events coming up and where people can sign themselves up. That'd be fantastic. Thank you. And we'd love to kind of support you with that and come along and be your cheerleaders. So no, but thank you so much for joining us. Rich has just said no questions. Just a really big thank you to you, Joe. That was great. There's lots of kind comments actually in the chat. Thank you, Joe, for talking to us with a big star. So yeah, lots of positive comments out, which is lovely. So thank you so much for joining us, Joe. No doubt we will speak again. And we'll see you. But yeah.
And there's loads of information on the Marmalade website, loads of blogs. I bang on about AI all the time, loads of blogs if you want to be bothered. Human written, not chat, by the way. So yeah, have a dive in.
Brilliant. Yeah, I will share the website and your LinkedIn and everything, all the handles in the Slack channel after this course, so everyone can go and take a look for you.
No worries. Well, thank you so much, and just keep on with it. It's so challenging, but honestly, I think we're starting to see green shoots. And if you are I always say, get ahead of it. Get ahead of it. It's really hard, but really have that energy to get ahead of it, no matter how knackered you are. You know, I'd love to stay in bed all day one day. That's Christmas Day for me, half a day. So yeah, just stay ahead of it, keep the energy, keep that power that you've got, because you've all got it.
Yes, absolutely. Do you know what? If you can make it through 12 weeks of Basecamp and get yourself a final project, there's nothing you can't do. There really is nothing that you can't do. Great advice. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, that was really inspiring. Really appreciate you coming on.
Anytime. You know, I love this. I love chatting for an hour.
Amazing. Right, let me just hit stop on the record, and thank